challenge of procurement may not be new per se, but the scale at which the department is currently undertaking them is what's making it a challenge.
Given these factors, just moving forward, what steps or measures have you undertaken to improve our project implementation duration?
Mr. Chair,
Just very brief.
on those two things, first of all, on procurement, Mr. Chair, since most of our projects now are foreign assisted, we have to follow the procurement guidelines of our lenders, whether it's the Asian Development Bank or the Japan International Cooperation Agency. We work with them very closely po, because unfortunately, one of the unanticipated causes of delay is the amount of time it takes for our lenders to review and give concurrences. Because, Mr. Chair, when we're dealing with foreign assisted projects, there are milestones, there are major steps that have to go through review and prior concurrence of the lender. So we're trying to work with them, understand their process better so that we reduce the time that it takes for those concurrences to be made. On right-of-way, Mr. Chair, there's a lot. For actually across the board, Mr. Chair, plain and simple head count. The department has been working on building up its right-of-way acquisition team, because at the end of the day, it's a boots on the ground issue. You need people to talk to the project-affected persons, to process the land titles at the city halls, at the registry. So that's one measure that's being taken. At the same time, Mr. Chair, one of the major right-of-way obstructions is utilities. So there are currently large-scale agreements with the utility companies, with Meralco, the National Grid Corporation, Manila Water, so that all of the project-affected utilities are dealt with on time by these utility companies. And finally, Mr. Chair, on informal settler families, one of the things that's being done there is really, especially for the foreign assisted projects, one of the requirements from the lenders is, for example, the interim rental subsidy. So even if it takes time to construct the resettlement sites, we are able to give them interim rental subsidy so that contractors can mobilize, can come in. The affected informal settlers can temporarily reside elsewhere while their resettlement sites are being prepared. So these are just some of the measures, Mr. Chair, that are being taken to address those challenges.
Mr. Chairman, since the USEC has given one of the factors as that delays the implementation of the project, among which is the procurement process. Do you agree with some of the authors of a potential or a proposed measure that would perhaps introduce amendments or modification to the existing provisions of the procurement law? Are you one with us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. With respect to the department's locally funded projects, because again, the foreign assisted projects are under a different set of rules, the procurement guidelines of our lenders. But for our locally funded projects, we have had very concrete and actually even very recent experiences of having to do a rebidding because of certain technicalities, certain constraints that are in our current RA 9184. The department, Mr. Chair, has been coordinating, has been working with the relevant committees in sharing, discussing inputs on the ongoing efforts to amend RA 9184. And rest assured po that from what we have experienced, the things that could have prevented a bid failure and that could have prevented a rebidding, we will be submitting po as inputs into this ongoing process of revisiting RA 9184 by Congress.
Okay. What is it in the procurement process other than the bidding that is making it hard for our project implementation so that we can make the necessary amendment or modification of the existing provision of the procurement law?
Mr. Chair, perhaps if we may compare an element of RA 9184 with our foreign lenders procurement guidelines. Okay. In RA 9184, there's this unbendable presence or absence rule. Even if the thing that's absent is trivial or technical, then that by itself is sufficient to call for a failure or disqualification or a rebidding. For our foreign lenders, they have the concept of a non-material non-conformity, for example. So if a non-conformity is non-material, then we are actually not allowed to disqualify, for example, on that ground. And the assessment of that is subject to, again, the review and concurrence of our lenders. So perhaps po, one example that can be cited on the difference and what could be considered or reconsidered in the ongoing amendments.
Thank you, Yusek. Can I throw my next question to actually my classmate in the law school, Asek Mendoza of the LTO? Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
Okay. Given the direction, the strategic direction of the department to ensure, according to your slogan, to ensure safe usage or safe and comfortable transportation process. I'd like to know what has the agency, particularly LTO, has done to address the reckless and apparent irresponsible driving of hindi naman lahat, some motorists in the roads and streets, especially if you notice dito sa ating Commonwealth Avenue na napakaraming araw-araw na aksidente. What interventions have you done so far?
Mr. Chair, if
Asek.
I may.
Yes, Asek Mendoza, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, we are putting together threefold approach. Number one, we are reviewing the qualifications of our driving schools. Very soon, we will bring this out in order to address, as what was pointed out, a better learning curve for those who are applying for driver's license. Number two, the training of our enforcers, not only of LTO but also of our allied agencies that help us out. Magkakaroon po na parang uniformity in the training of the enforcers, not only in Metro Manila but nationwide. And number three, yung education drive. We'd like to focus on that early on. We hope to launch a yung road safety building ho natin, which is really dedicated for this purpose, para early on magkaroon na po ng awareness as far as the proper things to do in driving, the proper things to do if you're a pedestrian. Lahat po yan, we are, ang ganda po ng ating equipment for this purpose. They're virtual reality equipment and they're about good to go. So ito po ang three approach: education, training, and then yung ating review rin of existing policies po, para yung enforcement po natin maging mas pasigasig po sa bagay ito po.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know, ano ba yung ating existing na regulatory policy tungkol dito? Other than yung setting up a motorcycle lane, bike lane, ano po ba yung nandyan na ngayon na ini-implement po natin?
Mr. Chair, guided pa rin ho tayo sa Republic Act 4136, but we are aware that yung perhaps gaya po ng issue ng mga motorsiklo na pasok, labas, kaliwat, kada, we are aware of this, but the rules are still guided by that law of Republic Act 4136. So same implementation. In fact, we're now looking on proposals para ho mas maging responsive yung batas na yon. as we move along, marami ng pagbabago sa daan, and the advent of more motorcycles in the road make it more difficult to apprehend given our limited number of resources. Pero nakikita namin yung mga violations eh. We are coordinating with MMDA at nakikita namin marami hong violations when it comes to motorcycle operations. So we would like to focus on that as well.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me,
Yes.
please wind up.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman. Is there a monitoring of the implementation of the measure that you have just mentioned, Asek?
Wala pa ho, no? We'll have to, meron ho tayong demerit-merit system that being in place. Pero pinapatindi pa ho natin yan. No? Marami na ho tayong na-cancel, na-revoke the lisensya under this system. But we still would like to overhaul and make it more effective. Yung monitoring, mas lalo na po, no? Nahirapan ho, limited manpower. Sana ho come into play na po technologies like the DO contact apprehension. Pero nasa Korte Suprema pa ho yan, hindi pa ho natatapos. No? And then yung ating monitor, we're coordinating with MMDA, dun ho sa kanilang mga monitoring cameras, mas lalo daming mapalawig. So we can be more proactive when it comes to apprehension.
Sana naman po, Asek, magkaroon na ng improvement yan. Napakalaking problema po talaga yan sa kalye na yan. Yung ating Commonwealth Avenue na papunta rito sa Kongreso, pati yung mga members ng House talagang nandilinis. Kadami-daming aksidente dyan araw-araw. I don't know if you are also maintaining a data of the accidents every day caused by the irresponsible operation or driving of our motorists.
Opo, dito sa Commonwealth, araw-araw meron tayong mga LTO enforcers in play, no? Na binabantayan ho natin yan para talagang matindi po yung ating enforcement, especially in the Commonwealth area kasi napakalawak na highway.
Thank you, Asek. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman Acharon. The next to interpolate from the minority, Representative Filimon Espares.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, my colleagues, and the DOTr family. Good afternoon. Now, my issues is particular only on the PUBMP, the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. Can I hear from DOTr the general status right now of the PUBMP program, the implementation? How far and how is the implementation going on? Can we hear anybody from the DOTr family?
With the permission of the chair, may I answer the question?
Yes, Asek Wadis is recognized.
Thank you very much, sir. For the initial stage, sir, what we have right now is what we call the industry consolidation, meaning to say we give these transport groups, especially these jeepneys, a time to group themselves into either a cooperative or into a corporation, which is a prelude to the fleet modernization after the end of the year when we would have...
Mr. Chair, can we cut how many % right now have been really consolidated?
For the consolidation, sir, we have about 64.5% of PUJ and UV.
That's all over the country.
That's about 114,979 vehicles, Your Honor.
Okay. How about the LTPRP? How many provinces or cities have already approved local public land transport road plan?
$1,045
Of how many?
LGUs.
Of how many? In terms of percentage, what's the percentage right now of the approved LTPRP?
It's 86%, Your Honor.
Oh, that's good. So 86%. So with regards to the PUBMP program, how much budget DOTr have provided for 2024?
Wala tayo.
Mr.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, there is no budget appropriated for the PUBMP for 2024.
So meaning there is no single centavo budget for the PUBMP program, where in fact 60+% pa lang ang nag-consolidate, then 86% ang may LTPRP. So with that, is the agency has no things or fund needed anymore to continue the program
Mr.
or to
Chairman,
finish or implement the program?
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, the original proposal of the DOTr for the PUV modernization program for 2024 is at 1.8 billion pesos to cover the various components of the PUV modernization program. However, no amount was considered for the 2024 NEP. So if this will be maintained, we'll have to find ways internally on how to sustain the implementation of the PUVMP, considering that this is still a priority of the department and the administration. Mr. Chair, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, no, I will just what you call that, parang na-alarm tayo dito dahil nasa gitnaan pala tayo ng program. And I know consolidations pa lang pinag-usapan, and we have a lot of things to do, especially on the conversion of the traditional jeepney into the modernized vehicle, no? Which I know there is also a government subsidy on that. So kung walang continuing budget for the PUBMP program, what will happen of the program? So what's the plan now of the DOTr moving forward? Just in case na wala talagang budget, what is your plan, no, for just in case na wala talagang budget? Paano nyo ma-continue yung program? Or does it mean ba dahil walang budget, you're going to stop the program?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, as earlier mentioned, there are some balances that are serving as continuing appropriations for the program. So we'll take advantage and just maximize these balances. However, since as the good congressman has noted, we are not yet covering the universe of the target beneficiaries, the department would really appreciate the support of the committee for the provision of even a small amount to augment what's already existing from the
Maybe
continuing.
know how much is your remaining balance?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, may I refer to LTFRB at least on the balance for the equity subsidy?
Equity subsidy.
But for the other components, Mr. Chairman, I doubt that we are just barely sustaining the operations of the personnel who's handling the program. ASEC Guadisa, Your Honor, for the balance of the equity subsidy.
Before we have 1 billion, and how much the remaining balance right now, given it is an ongoing provision of subsidies to the modernized vehicles, even as the latest? Or baka within December, baka ubos na rin din yun, no? So what will happen for the 2024?
Your Honor, the balance is 786 million.
700?
86 million.
So the 786 million, enough na ba yan to cover the remaining vehicle na i-modernize pa?
For the equity subsidy, I think for the next 3 months, this may suffice, but not for the next year, Your Honor.
So meaning from the 1 billion provisions before, and the remaining amount is just
786
million. How many vehicles have you provided? The number of units have you provided is subsidy? And how many, if you have the data, how many modernized vehicle right now existing in the country?
7,349. 7,349. To be sure.
Kasi nakakabahala ito, Mr. Chair, no, na we are the middle of the program, then here come, bigla na lang na zero yung budget. So would like to request probably from our sponsor, no, of the Committee on the Appropriations. The same thing which I have manifested last time, no? So nawala yung budget, but through these deliberations, nabigyan ng another 200 million yata. Pero I know, again, zero na naman. So this representation again would like to request this committee to reconsider the concerns of the UPBMP program na malagay sa langanin dito yung mga cooperatives na nag-modernize, no, na hindi sila makapag-acquire ulit ng panibagong unit because they've been mandated to really upgrade their vehicle into a modernized one pero walang support na yung government. So what will happen with the program? Can we back to the question?
Yes, Your Honor. For the equity subsidy, there were about 586 units that have availed of the expanded equity subsidy of the government.
586 only?
Yes, Your Honor.
So ilang libo suppose ang i-modernize natin all over the country?
2,500.
2,500. Are you sure? 2,500? Baka isang area lang yan? Baka Manila lang yan?
Units, that would be 2,500 units ang initial target, Your Honor.
Okay. Sige. How far naman? Mabilis ba yung implementation in terms of providing subsidies? Kasi alam ko we have a lot of cooperatives or corporations right now. Hindi pa rin maibigay-bigay yung mga subsidies natin. So, last time when we have meeting with DOTr, yung balance na 700 million na yan, almost the same pa rin as of this time. So meaning,
Yes.
wala kayong disbursement masyado and we have a lot of cooperatives and corporations right now have already acquired, no, and acquired loans, no, from the financing institutions, and now nakapinding yung kanilang subsidies, and we are always looking na mataas pa yung balance natin, but then we have a lot of units pa na dapat i-subsidize.
Mr. Chair, allow, I would like to answer.
Yes, Mr. Ortega, you're
Yeah, that's right. A little correction lang, no? Yung nag-avail na po ng modern vehicle is around 7,349.
7,000.
349 who have availed of the modern vehicles. And then you were asking po, ilan pa yung mga pending, no? So we have around 7,000 pending application po for modern vehicles. So with the LTFRB was able to release a new MC, which is called issuing alternative certificate. So this alternative certificate will help in the releasing of these loans for the 7,000 units. So the 7,000 units, based on the balance that we have, it will be enough po to subsidize these units that are still pending po, Your Honor.
Yeah, but then I know ilang units pa lang yun, no? So we have no continuing funding for the 2024. So yun lang, Mr. Chair, would like really to again manifest to this committee na sana sa GAB mabigyan ng additional budget yung ating DOTr for the PUBMP program. So that's all, and thank you very much.
Okay. The manifestation is noted. The next to interpolate from the independent representative Edsel Lagman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the allocation of appropriation, how much is the total outlay for the rail? In the allocation of appropriations, how much is the total outlay for the rail industry for 2024? And how much is the allocation for the public overland transportation?
Mr. Chair, Your Honor,
Yes, Yusek De Leon.
in the 2024 National Expenditure Program, a total of 162.47 billion pesos is intended to be utilized for various railway projects. for the road transport or land transport projects, Your Honor, the total amount in the NEP is around 5.973 billion pesos. 5.973 billion pesos, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
That's an enormous disparity. On a percentage basis, what is the differential between the two, the land transportation and the railway system?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, the allocation for the rail sector is 26 times bigger than the road sector's allocation.
And for the current year, how much is appropriated for the rail sector and how much is appropriated for the land transportation sector?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, for the 2023 GAA, the appropriation for the rail sector is at 47.653 billion pesos, while the appropriation for the road sector is 6.977 billion pesos.
In other words, for the road sector, it has decreased.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman. The allocation from 2023 GAA to 2024 NEP for the road sector, in fact, has decreased by about 1 billion pesos.
And what is the rate of disbursement with respect to the rail sector?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, for the rail sector, as of end of July, the disbursement rate over obligation for the rail sector is at 57.18%.
How about for the land transportation?
For the road sector, Mr. Chair, Your Honor, the disbursement rate is at 5.06%.
5.0%. The allocation for the road sector is very much less, but it is compounded by the measly disbursement rate. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
Why is that so?
The biggest contributor, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, for 2023 for the low disbursement rate are two foreign assisted projects, namely the EDSA Greenways project and the Cebu BRT project, where we posted significantly low disbursement out of the available funds, Your Honor. Partly again, due to the ongoing right-of-way still acquisition, particularly for EDSA Greenways project, and the ongoing procurement for some of the contract packages for the Cebu Bus Rapid Transit project, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
And how many commuters on a daily as well as annual basis avail of the road transportation and how many avail of the railway transportation?
Mr. Chair, as of our latest Mr. Chair, we don't have numbers nationwide, but we have numbers for the capital. As of our latest transport study for the Greater Capital Region in 2019, rail is at around 7%, and the balance po is all the other modes po.
In other words, there is more availment as far as your data with respect to the capital on road transportation compared to railway.
That's
On a
correct.
nationwide basis, can you extrapolate?
Mr. Chair, first of all, in the capital, the reason po for the very low numbers for rail is because we have very limited rail infrastructure. So that in big part explains po why the share of the total is very low. If we go nationwide, since we do not have any rail infrastructure outside of the capital, then it's likely po that the share of rail to to road transportation users is probably going to be much lower,
Lower.
much lower.
But since there are more commuters availing of road or land transportation, why are we allocating so much less for land or overland transportation?
Mr. Chair, if we may just clarify po, for our rail investments, the source of funding is only government. Whereas for road public transport, we share the fiscal burden, we share the investment burden with the private sector. For example, for PUV modernization, while the government is subsidizing up to 10-15% of the investment cost of a modernized jeepney, 85%, 90% is being covered by the private sector.
Mhm.
So the budget, the government budget for the road sector is not reflecting the total amount of investment that is going into the sector, because the total amount of investment includes both the government subsidy, the government budget, and the amount that is being shouldered by the private sector.
With respect to road transportation, how much is the share of the national government in investment?
Mr. Chair, our subsidy level for our PUV modernization program has been increasing. For example, from 6-7% to 15%. That's one. But that's only for the cost of the modernized jeeps.
What are the other aspects?
Major aspect, Mr. Chair, is the road where the road-based public transport is running on. Because for all intents and purposes, Mr. Chair, the roads that are needed for the road-based public transport to operate is also a subsidy of the national government. It's just that in rail, it's integrated. We see under one...
To make a long story short, how much is the government investment in its totality with respect to road transport?
Mr. Chair, very roughly, if we are going to look at an all government, from the government side, let's add the DPWH budget of 800 billion for road infrastructure, plus the 6.9 billion for road public transport. So that would be our investment in road-based transport, Mr. Chair.
But that amount of 800 million for the Department of Public Works and Highways is not solely for road construction. Is that not correct? That's the universe of its budget. So I go back to my question. How much is the share of the government?
Mr. Chair, pardon me po, I am not aware of the split of the DPWH's budget as to how much is going to road infrastructure and ours.
Can you give us an educated guess? How much is the share on a percentage basis of the government? You opened this avenue for questioning because you said that there is more from the private sector than the government in road transportation. Then how much is the share of the government? If you don't have the data, kindly submit to the committee.
We will submit, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We will submit.
Then how much is the share of the private sector in the road transportation system?
We can do that po, Mr. Chair.
You
We
don't
will
have the
submit.
data now. Okay, if you don't have the data, kindly submit to
Yes,
the
Mr. Chair.
committee.
Mhm.
Now, with respect to the modernization of the Bicol Railway, or you call that the South
Long Haul, Mr. Chair.
South Long Road Railway. What is now the status of this project?
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, please, Yusik Chavez.
Number one, there is an ongoing contract with China Railway Design Corporation. It's a 14 billion peso contract. The contract covers project management consultancy, should have been utilized for management supervision of the civil works and rolling stock contract. But in reality, the 142 billion signed contract by Secretary Tugadi sometime in February 2022 was not granted loan by the China Exim Bank. That's the reason why Secretary Dominguez withdrew the loan application to the China Exim Bank. Immediately upon the assumption of President Marcos, Secretary Bautista immediately requested the Secretary of Finance to reapply for the loan, and reapply for the loan, and the same is being processed by the National Economic Development Authority and by the Department of Finance. DOTr is an implementing agency, but the one that applies for the loan, negotiates for the loan, and signs for the loan is the Department of Finance. The latest po, since there is no funding for the civil works, rolling stock, electromechanical, the Secretary of Transportation informed our team and informally informed the economic team of the president that this year we must be able to get a definitive reply from the China Exim Bank. Otherwise, our options will be two. One is to terminate the project management consultancy with the China Railway Design Corporations, because unless it is terminated, Mr. Chair,
to make a long story short, Yusek Chavez, there is no loan.
there is loan for
Yes, but for
project
the,
management consultancy, but not for the civil works. There's no loan.
there is no loan.
Opo,
So we could not even say when the civil works would start.
that is
And it
correct,
would
Mr.
end.
Chair. That is correct. That is
Uh,
absolutely correct, Mr. Chair.
And so at the moment, this so-called modernization of the Bicol Railway is still a pipe dream.
That is
No,
absolutely correct. There is no definitive source of funding for the civil works.
Well, has the problem of the resettlement of affected residents along the road been resolved?
We are addressing that. We're prioritizing where the Philippine National Railways is operating.
Do you have funding for that?
Do we have funding for that? And in fact, we have a
What is the stage of completion with respect to this resettlement of affected residents?
we are limited to 3.4 billion given to us by Congress, and the concentration, Mr. Chair, is from Calamba to Lucena, Lucena to Hondagua, because we are now utilizing, Mr. Chair,
So
the existing
wala
alliance.
pa sa Bicol region.
Wala pa po sa
Wala
Bicol
pa sa
region.
Bicol region. And what is your rate of accomplishment with respect to the resettlement of affected residents?
In the 3.4 billion contract with the National Housing Authority is in charge of that. There is going to be a turnover of some relocation sites in Lucena. Lucena, Tiaong, Candelaria,
Has
Quezon,
there been a relocation site already turned over?
yet to be turned over
Yet
po.
to be turned
Opo.
over. So wala pa.
Wala pa ho.
Wala pa.
But the funding was already
How about
downloaded
the
to
problem
One second.
on the right of way.
right of way
Are you
covers.
addressing that also?
Yeah, right of way covers three things. One is the resettlement, relocation of ISF. Second is the resettlement, relocation of utilities. And the third is the land acquisitions. We are utilizing, Mr. Chair, the PNR alignment. So there's ongoing a meeting from technical to senior officials to the high level with the Meralco and other telcos, including the national.
On a percentage basis, how far is your accomplishment?
There's no funding yet for the relocation of resettlement because
No. With respect to, because it's the right of way will not affect only residents,
Opo,
but it's probably landowners, etc.
there's no ongoing procurement of private lots
Okay.
for a South Long Hole.
Well, that's good to know because we are nowhere. Now, let me go to another issue, and the CAAP is the government agency which fixes or approves the rate of airfare for the domestic airlines. Is that correct? CAAP.
To the chair,
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sure. Good.
Sorry, sir. My name is Carmelo Orsilia. I am the Executive Director of the Civil Aeronautics Board, which regulates the economic aspect of the airline industry in the Philippines. And yes, sir, it's the CAB. CAB po.
Okay. And what is the latest order or issuance of the CAAP with respect to the regulation of airfare for the domestic airline companies?
Yes, sir. The charter of the, first of all, sir, it's the Civil Aeronautics Board and not the Civil Aviation Authority, not the CAAP. CAB po yung amin. It's like the LTFRB of the airline industry. And the CAAP
So
is like,
let me just get that very clearly. So what government agency would be in charge of fixing or approving the airfares being charged by domestic airline companies?
it is the Civil Aeronautics Board po. It's the CAB.
Okay.
Opo.
Siya ang sumagot. The Civil Aeronautics Board. Can we get the answer from the
Ako po.
concerned
Yes, sir.
agency? Ikaw.
Opo.
You are the one.
Yes, sir.
Pala eh. Now, let me ask you, sir, what was the latest order of your agency with respect to airline fares?
Congressman
May-
Lagman, you please wind up your turn.
May be clarified, sir, as to the nature of the question. Latest order in terms of
Regulation.
regulation. We review first, but we
What is
decide
the latest regulation or order? What is the latest order?
we accept and review
What is
first.
the latest order of your agency with respect to fares?
We regularly approve fares po.
What is
On a
the
daily
latest?
basis po. On a daily basis, we approve many of them po.
What is the latest?
Most of them, sir, are approved online. So as we are talking,
We're just wasting time if you don't. If your answer is not responsive, can I have a second round?
sir, I will just try. You're talking about the latest policy on regulation.
No. Regulation on airfare.
Regulation would be the approval of
It appears that
parameters.
this is on a case-to-case basis.
Okay.
Case-to-case ba ito? Mag-aas ang PAL, you have to approve it. Mag-aas ang Cebu Pacific, you have to approve it. Ganun ba yan? Case-to-case? There is no one policy. Every airline participating in the aviation business.
Okay, sir. The approval of airfares today is subject to what we call reduced regulation, sir. It's reduced regulation in the sense that Republic Act 776 requires that this is 1952 vintage po ito. It requires the CAB authorizes the CAB to fix charges that can be enforced or imposed by airlines. And then the second statement of that law says that the CAB can opt to adopt the fares that are suggested by airlines for as long as they are not unreasonable. Yan po yung mandate, yan po yung policy of the charter. And then in 1995 po, lumabas yung tinatawag na Executive Order 219 during the tenure of President Ramos. Ang tawag po rito yung progressive liberalization of the aviation industry in the Philippines. At ang isa pong feature of that executive order ay yung deregulation at liberalization ng airfares sa Pilipinas po. So, this executive order defines the liberalization of not only the fares, but entry and exit into the market, liberalization of fares, liberalization of routes, routes and flight frequencies and capacity. Yun po yung na-liberalize doon sa executive order na yon. So, umiiral po ngayon na patakaran yung Executive Order 219 at ang basis po nito yung
Mr. Chair, just to
Last
shorten
question.
this, I will just ask the question and please submit in writing your answers. One, are there standard factors in the fixing of rates in the airline business? Number two, are there variable factors in the approval of these rates or in the charging of this rate by the airlines? Like, for example, peak season, holidays, and the time that elapses between the purchase and the travel of a particular passenger.
yes, sir.
I am asking this question because the other week I booked for Manila Daraga flight and with with a return flight. I was charged 20,000 pesos. When ordinarily, the charge would be in the vicinity of 6,000 pesos only, back and forth. What accounts for that? Could you answer that in writing, please? Thank you.
And that will be the last question.
That would be illegal, sir, because that would be beyond, I am sure that is beyond the ceiling that has been set.
Just give us the answer in writing. In writing.
Okay, can you give the
Not a sworn statement, just in writing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will do it.
can you give the answer in writing to this committee? How many days would you ask for?
Maybe 5 days, sir, because
Please, that's
Congressman,
too long.
because Congressman Palma also asked this office to prepare also reports to him in connection with almost the same. This is the third requirement po, Your Honor.
But you'll be answering the same
Okay.
question. So
May I ask for 3 days po?
3 days. Okay, 3 days. 3 days. So the next to interpolate from the majority imports, representative by Dimple Mastura.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask the Philippine Ports Authority, what happened to the proposal regarding to the Polyoc Port in Parang, Maguindanao del Norte? PPA.
Sa buong mundo, ang airfare is regulated. Kaya
Yun ang
malapit na. Yun ang sinasabi, kaya lumagot. Kaya lumagot ang
hindi rin talaga nila masagot.
ng araw ang mga kapya nila. Kaya meron mo siya. Meron chance. Kaya marami ko ng mahal. Siyempre, mas mahal. Pero, makakabili ka naman ng
Industry na yan.
ang time and demand. Ngayon, ang beauty noon, ang advantage ng napupuno ang aeroplane.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the
Yes, okay.
Assistant General Manager of PPA will respond to the query.
Oh, okay, please proceed.
po, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the port of Polyok in Cotabato has been transferred to the BARM. Kaya hindi na po, wala na po sa jurisdiction ng Philippine Ports Authority. So yung pong proposal for expansion.
Excuse me, can you please state your name first?
Okay. Opo. As I mentioned, Mr. Chair, the port of Polyok in
No, can you please state your name because I think
Okay po. Mr. Chair, I am Elmer Cadano, the Assistant General Manager of Philippine Ports Authority. My apologies po, but the PPA GM Jay Santiago was called by one of the congressmen in a meeting outside. In any case, as I mentioned, by virtue of the transfer of the port of Polyok and which is within the territorial jurisdiction of the BARM, the PPA has no longer jurisdiction over the said port, and because of that, we cannot act on the request for expansion or development. But during the turnover, I remember that that is part of the turnover we did to the BARM for the transfer of the port and all other. In fact, all the plans and development plans for said port were transferred to BARM already, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That is the reason why we feel that we in the BARM, we have abandoned by the PPA. Mr. Chair, my district is still part of the Republic of the Philippines, and I believe Polyok Port is still part of the PPA. I would like to make this omnibus clarification and manifestation. Mr. Chair, this is also the sentiment of all congressmen whose legislative district is found in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM. To all relevant agencies of the national government, the Bangsamoro Organic Law or BOL has always been an excuse not to fund and implement the projects of BARM congressmen in their district. I hope this will clarify your misconception and misgivings to our legislative district. Please take note of this provision in the Bangsamoro Organic Law or BOL or Republic Act number 11054, Article 13, Regional Economy and Patrimony, Section 37, Section 37, Public Works and Infrastructure. The national government shall fund and implement the construction and maintenance of the national roads, bridges, water supply and services, and flood control and irrigation systems, and for the maintenance of the existing airports, seaports, and wharfs in Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Nationally funded in infrastructure projects shall be implemented by the national government. Polyok Port has been existing before and even after the BOL. It is a seaport which should be funded and implemented by the national government. Mr. Chair, the Bangsamoro Organic Law was not intended to cut the umbilical cord that connects our legislative district from the national government. We expect the Philippine Ports Authority and all relevant agencies to provide funding and implement projects in our districts in the Bangsamoro region. Because as congresswoman and congressmen, we also approve the national budget. So I would like to see what is our project in Polyok Port. I am asking the full support of our General Manager of the PPA, Mr. Chair.
Again, Mr. Chair, our hands are tied insofar as the funding is concerned because again, we have a legal limitation by virtue of the transfer of the Polyok Port to BARM. But even having said so, we are still in communication, in fact, with the BARM officials, the port officials of BARM, by way of extending technical assistance and hand-holding insofar as the management and operation of the port is concerned. Our port management office in General Santos is constantly in coordination with the officials of BARM, particularly the port services of BARM, so that we can give whatever assistance we can give, especially in the aspect of port operations and even port management and even human resource development in terms of training the personnel of BARM. Except that, as I mentioned, we regret that by virtue of the law, the BARM, the Polyok Port being not part anymore of the Philippine Ports Authority port system, we cannot allocate funds for maybe what the Commission on Appropriations can do. If that can be budgeted through the General Appropriations Act, then we are more than willing to assist in the implementation of the projects which might be funded under the GAA, Mr. Chairman.
My last manifestation, Mr. Chair, for CAAP, in regards to our Cotabato Awang Airport, sana po mapa-double time po and mapaasap yung pag-renovation at ang pag-resume ng aming commercial flights. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
To the chair, if I may answer.
Yes,
Regarding the Cotabato runway, we opened it up already after resurfacing the middle portion of the whole runway. It's now usable. However, it's time limited po because we still have to continue the other parts of the runway. So it is open from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And then during the rest of the day and night, itutuloy ho namin yung programa namin sa runway at taxiway natin. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
okay, thank you very much. The next to interpolate will be Representative Yoloyo Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to our DOTr family. Catanduanes is an island province. If there's a travel suspension due to implement weather signal, automatic po cancel ng biyahe ng ating mga ferryboat. Our main problem po ang dito po sa Tabaco Port Terminal. Kasalukuyan, marami na po itong sira. Yung CR, yung mga upuan doon, dilapidated na. Marami na po yung mga bintana nito. Hindi na po safe at hindi komportable na po ang mga na-stranded na biyaherong Katandunganon. Actually po, nag-usap kami ni Kung Jill Bungalon dahil taga-Tagbako po siya. Naawa na rin po siya sa mga pasahero namin po. Mr. Chair, ang tanong ko po, saan po napupunta ang binabayaran nating terminal fee ng libu-libong Katandunganon, Mr. Chair?
May answer.
With the permission of the Chair. Good afternoon po ulit. Yung pong sa port natin po sa Tabaco, in fact, meron po tayong program na development plan for next year. Totoo po, meron pong yun pong sa port ng Tabaco, that's part of one of the ports that was damaged heavily by one of the typhoons recently. At kaya po naka-schedule po tayo kaya nakaprograma po tayo ng major rehabilitation doon sa Port of Tabaco. In fact, for next year po, nakaprograma natin yun. In fact, meron din pong plano na upon the request of some of the stakeholders doon, mag-expand ng ramp kasi may nagkukulang na po. Totoo po yung sabi ni Congressman na lumalaki po yung volume doon sa Port of Tabaco, especially those going to Catanduanes. Kaya po meron po tayong nakaprogram na development plan for next year.
So yan pa, itong 2024 po.
Yung 2024 po, Mr. Chair.
Sinisigurado lang po natin kasi kawawa naman po ang aking kababayan. Kasi diyan po sila nag-iipon-ipon. Pag nagkakaroon po tayo ng signal, pag signal number 1, automatic, hindi na pwedeng bumiyahe. So, minsan, naabutan sila sa daan, hindi naman pwedeng bumalik na yan. Kasi minsan, pinapabalik natin. Pero pag on the way na, wala namang way, kundi tumuloy yan. Opo, sinisigurado ko lang po.
Opo, Mr. Chair. In fact, kasama po dun sa development plan doon, yung paggawa ng bagong passenger terminal building. Kasi totoo pong dumadami yung pasahero at medyo luma na rin nga po talaga yung facility natin doon.
Doon po rin sa atin, doon sa non-sport po, may directives ba tayo doon na pag mo'y pumasok na yung mga padyak o kaya mga sasakyan na mag-atid lang ng pasahero papunta doon sa ferry, naniningil ba kayo ng 18 pesos doon?
Wala pong dapat sinisingil doon, Mr. Chair. Kung meron pong ganung reklamo, ipapacheck po natin at para ma-actionan kaagad.
Pag-check lang po, no? Kasi yung mga padyak natin, minsan kasi nag-atid lang ng pasahero papasok kasi alam mo na, pag umulan, so natural, magbabayad din naman yan ng terminal fee. Kung mayroon man doon silang kasamaan, so ang iba pumapasok na. Lalo pag may mga karga, so ang alam ko, parang may sinisingil pa na 18 pesos.
Ipapacheck po natin yung Mr. Chair kagad.
Opo, Mr. Chair. Regarding po ito, Mr. Chair, sa construction po ng Loran Coast Guard Station. Alam ko po, ito, napunduan ito nung nakarang taon, I think. Natuloy po ang kontrata dito. Actually, nakamobilize na po ang contractor dito and then biglang na-cancelled, nawala po. Ano po ba nangyari dito, Mr. Chair?
We have the representation.
Loran Station po to sa Barangay Kigaray, Bagamanok.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, magandang gabi po. Commandant po ng Coast Guard. I will, if I may, sir, I will revert back to you. I'll just need to find out the details.
Hindi niyo po ba alam, may matagal na itong na ito nga, nabutan ko na lang po to dahil first, first term ko po bilang congressman. Kaya alam ko po to. Alam niyo naman po na kailangan namin po yan, yung yung Loran Station na yan ng Coast Guard. Kasi pagdating po sa search and rescue operation, alam naman natin na ang probinsya namin daanan ng bagyo. Kalamidad. Ang hanap buhay ng karamihan po namin ng mga kabayan ko po doon, mangingisda. Alam naman natin na pag sila inabutan sa laot, sigurado, di natin alam kung makakabalik pa sila. Kaya marami pong naging missing sa amin na mga mangingisda. Ang nangyari, kasi alam naman natin, ang Coast Guard, wala po kayong gamit doon. May gamit kayo doon, parang, di ko maintindihan, speedboat ba yun o kasi ang laman, parang 4 na tao lang. Hindi naman yung pwedeng pumalaot. Kaya nangyari, nag-aantay na lang kami kung saan mapadpad yung ating mangisda, kung saan lumutang. No na dapat, nasusundan sana natin yan kung mayroon tayong gamit. Dahil baka maligtas pa natin yan. Eh, nangyayari po, itong ating mga kapwamangisla na po, sila na rin po naghahanap. Sila na rin po naghahanap. At sa itong probinsya namin po, ito po ang pinakamalapit sa Berham Rice na isa sa pinag-awayan ng Pilipinas at China. So kailangan po namin yan doon. Kailangan po namin yun. Kaya kung pwede po, ibalik natin doon. Kung ano man nangyari sa pundo niyan, dapat po mapondoan uli yan. Para po yan doon sa
Please,
Catanduanes po.
please wind up.
Yeah, well noted po, Mr. Chair. Salamat po.
Opo, ang ano ko lang po,
Last question.
regarding naman po ito sa sa extension po ng Kudo na port. Kasi yung Kudong port po, napaka-iksi lang po. Minsan pag nag-low tide, hindi na po nakakadaong minsan yung ating mga bangka. So ang Kudong port po, ito yung ito po yung dinadaanan po ng ating mga turista pag going to Karamuan po. Kasi magandang beach doon. So ngayon, ang pinakang napakabilis nilang daan through Catanduanes. Kaya 1 hour lang ang tawid. So yun po ang inihingi natin. Actually, request ko na ito 2023. Ito, wala, hindi na pondohan po. So ito lang pong inihingi natin na malagyan naman ito at saka yung ating airport po sa Catanduanes na dapat naman po madagdagan, mabahan kasi masyado pong persado ang aeroplano natin pag bumaba. Nag-engine brake po kagad.
Okay, that will be...
Yun lang po. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, can PPA and then I think airport Kaap can answer PPA first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, quickly lang po yung with respect to yung proposal po for the development of Kudong Port. We will look into that for possible implementation next year. Kasi for this year po, ang ini-implement natin yung expansion, yung construction ng Roro ramp tsaka RCPR doon sa San Andres. For bidding na po yun this year. Ano po yun? For implementation na this year po yun. But yung pong Kudong, we will look into that for next year.
Mr. Chair, if I may, additional lang po, kasi may request din po ako doon sa port po doon sa Bato. Kasi yung Birak Port po, pag medyo amihan, hindi po nakakadaong ang mga barko doon dahil medyo malon. Pero doon sa port po ng doon sa barangay dito sa may Batalay, may po yun, parang kubo yun eh. Kaya pag amihan, medyo malinaw daw. Kaya actually may dati ng port doon nung bumagyo lang kasi wala na, napabayaan na yun eh. Kaya yun po ang aking propose na alternative po na pwede natin lagyan. So I hope na mapunduan po. Salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Last question. Maybe Kaap can answer the question regarding the airport in Catanduanes.
Yes, sir, to the chair. We requested 150 million for Birak, pero hindi ho na ilagay sa NEP. So, ang ipaprioritize lang ho namin as far as Birak is concerned and through Kaap na lang will be the control tower po para magkaroon tayo ng control tower sa Birak for next year.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, baka pwedeng 2024 malagyan naman yun.
The manifestation is noted. Next to interpolate is Vice Chairman Jill Bungalon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the DOTr family. Good evening to my esteemed colleagues. May I just ask the committee secretary to flash to the screen the photos regarding the passenger port terminal in Tabaco City, Albay. So, yan po yung naging subject matter po ng interpellation ni Congressman Rodriguez. Continuous pa rin po yung pagsisingil natin ng terminal fee in the amount of 30 pesos. Next photo, please. So basically, yung terminal fee natin, sinisingil natin sa mga pasahero. Most of them are from the province of Catanduanes. Tignan po yung comfort room, barado. No? Next photo. Route po ini, ibig sabihin, sira po ito. Yan po ang status ng port terminal namin doon sa Tabaco. Next. Yan, parang
abandoned building na. Next. Yan, may nakalagay pa, dahan-dahan lang ang pag-flush. No? Ayan. Walang salamin, wala pong bintana. Basically, yan po ang passenger terminal na kung saan ang mga pasahero po papuntang probinsya ng Catanduanes ay dyan po naghihintay para po sila makatawid ng isla. So, pwede ko po ba malaman or pwede ko po malaman kung anong reaction po ng PPA dito?
Mr. Chair, as I mentioned earlier, ito po yung passenger terminal building that was heavily damaged by a typhoon at pinagawa na po natin ng plano. We will actually not only rehabilitate practically a new passenger terminal building. If I could remember correctly from our engineering, it will be a 1,000 passenger capacity terminal building that will be putting up at next year po naka-schedule ito.
Okay. Tama po kayo doon, no? Na-damage po ito ng typhoon. Pero you failed to mention the typhoon that devastated or damaged this building. That was in 2020, the Typhoon Rolly. 3 taon na po ang nakalipas. So pwede ko ba mamalaman magkano po ba yung budget na i-allocate nyo po for next year? Kasi as you have mentioned earlier, meron na po kayong plano dito. At baka magalit po si Congressman Edsel Lagman because that was the same subject matter of the letter that was sent to your office with those similar photos but no response at all from the PPA.
We will submit, Mr. Chair, the budgetary estimate for the project. I don't have it right now, but our engineering office has already prepared the plans for this at naka-slate na po ito for implementation next year. So we will submit po, Mr. Chair.
And the budget for the, is that for the new building or renovation of this passenger terminal?
If I understand it correctly po, what we will do is while constructing the new passenger terminal building, i-rehab na lang muna po dyan para magamit. But it will practically be a new passenger terminal building given the expansion, the bigger size that we will create and even yung design po.
And the budget for the rehabilitation will come from your budget, corporate funds of PPA?
Opo, including the improvement po.
And please make it a typhoon resilient building. Kasi lagi po kami tinatamaan ng bagyo. Every now and then, nasisira po yung passenger terminal namin. And in fact, credit to the Radyo Pilipinas Bira Catanduanes dahil galing po sa kanila yung mga photos na yan. In fact, again, that was also a subject matter of the Sangguniang Panlalawigan Resolution that was sent to the PPA Tabaco. And until now, wala pa rin pong response, no, yung PPA. So may I just direct, no, probably within Friday, to please respond, no, to the concern being raised by the Sangguniang Panlalawigan of Catanduanes. Nakakaya po kasi ang Tabaco Port po is international port. So yan po yung status, ang current status po ng ating passenger terminal. So may I also go to another point, Mr. Chairman. Kay ASEC Vigor po. Isang tanong lang po, ASEC. Alam niyo po ba na, aware po ba kayo na nakaka-rehistro pa po sa LTO ng mga carnap vehicles?
Ngayon ko lang po narinig yan. Sa totoo lang po.
Ang tanong, ang sagot po, oo. No? Kasi ang LTO po, wala ko kayong listahan ng mga bihikulo na may alarma na galing po HPG. So tinatago po siguro, I don't know. Pero may just encourage or direct the LTO to get the list of all vehicles with alarm from the HPG. Kasi meron pong experience na yung mga carnap vehicles po ay nagiging subject of sale and then nare-rehistro pa po sa LTO. Pero wala pong paraan ng LTO to determine if that vehicle being registered is a carnap vehicle. So again, starting this year and the years to come, please secure the list of vehicles with alarm from the Highway Patrol.
Thank you po, Mr. Chairman. Actually, meron po kaming, yan yung isa sa mga interconnectivities na ginagawa ho natin with our computer system. Yung interconnect with other government agencies. Kasama po dyan yung PNP. Parang nakalink up na po ang LTO sa PNP. Makukuha na kagad ho namin real time yung information nila and vice versa.
Yes, please. And that would be all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Forward na.
Director, tawag mo na tayo.
Sige. The next to interpolate will be Representative Richard Gomez.
Richard,
Wala. Representative Yodi Tariela. Representative Gus Tambunting. Representative David Suarez. Representative Howard Ginto.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Sige.
Mr. Chair, please proceed. Mr. Chair, isa sa advocacy ko, is one of my main advocacies is pagkakaroon ng mga transport-oriented communities, no? Kasi karamihan sa ating mga relocation projects, iniiwanan po ito. Kadalasan ng dahilan is masyadong malayo or walang mga transport terminals doon sa mga relocation projects. With that in mind, gusto ko sana pong tanungin ng LTFRB kung meron po ba tayong mga na-establish na mga bagong ruta na ang pangunahing is itong mga relocation sites na gagawin o mga nagawa na, kung meron po ba tayong plano para dito.
Sec Guadis of LTFRB, please respond.
With the permission of the chair, thank you for calling our attention on this matter. While it is true, Your Honor, that we have been establishing new developmental routes, we still have to consider this, but thank you for calling our attention on this matter. We will consider it, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yes, Yusek Chavez.
All right. Magandang gabi po, Mr. Chair. One of the requirements in the resettlement of ISF along PNR alignments is the access to transportation of the relocatees. In fact, in the local interagency committee, LIAC, kasama yung DSUD, DOTr, DSWD, and the local government concerns, the planning, and other departments in the local, sila ho ang nagdidesisyon kung saan ang relocation site. Hindi ho ito unilateral ng national government. Laging may participation ho ang local government na receiving ng mga relocatees. Isa ho sa requirements is access to transportation ho. In other words, hindi pwedeng dalhin ang mga ISF sa mga lugar na walang access ang transportation. Very basic ho sa LIAC, Local Interagency Committee, composed of local government units, DSUD, DOTr, and other national government agencies na tiyakin na yung paglalagyan ay may access sa transportasyon. Jeep, tricycle, bus, yun ho ang mga pinagpipilian.
Tama naman po. Actually, totoo naman yan. Meron talagang access. But let's face it, no, karamihan po, sabi nyo nga po, mag-tricycle bago mag-jeep, after magbabas. Pero karamihan po nang nire-relocate po natin ay mga nasa manggagawa po, no, or minimum wage earners. Magta-tricycle ka 50 pesos, magbabas ka 80 pesos or 70 pesos, plus mag-jeep bus, that's about almost 200 pesos. If we have, and you are earning what, 450 pesos, 500 pesos per day, kalahati mo pupunta sa pamasahe, ano na lang po matitira sa kanila. So what I'm asking is, if yung mismong area is meron na pong ruta ng bus or PUVs, this can minimize the cost of transportation. It's not really the distance that we are considering here. It's more really the convenience to lower the transportation cost. Yun lang po, Mr. Chair.
Sa panig ho, Mr. Chair, ng relocation action plan approved by JICA, approved by Asian Development Bank, sapagkat yung mga relocation sites ho ay governed ng rules ng resettlement action plan, tinitiyak ko na hindi yung 3 o 4, no? So may access po sa jeep, not necessarily 3 sakay bago pumunta sa sa mainland. Yun po ang requirement po ng Asian Development Bank. Yan din po ang requirement ng JICA bago nila ina-approve ang Resettlement Action Plan na nagiging basihan bago nagre-relocate ng ating mga ISF po.
Maraming salamat po kung ganun at sana nga po lahat ng future projects ay maging ganun din po ang maging basehan. Moving forward, Mr. Chair, ilan po ang na-record nating violation ng anti-overloading policy or RA 8794 para sa ating mga trucks, trailers ngayong taon na to?
ASEC Vigor, please respond.
Yes po. Mr. Chair, sorry, we do not have the data right now. If I may just submit it to the committee and to the Honorable Congressman.
Yes, Kong Howard.
Okay, yes, the kadahilan po kasi, the reason why I'm asking this is, ito kasi yung kadahilan ng dinarason natin mga truck drivers, no? Overloaded, kaya nawawalan ng preno, tapos makakasagasa. I mean, in the news last week, 10 ang inararo na kotse, marami po tayong nagiging aksidente. Ang nakakalungkot lang po is yung mga sisisi dito ay yung ating mga truck drivers. Pero wala naman po silang dahil utos ng kanilang operator na, sige, punuin mo yan, bumiyahe ka. Tapos sila ang masisisi, sila ang makukulong, sila ang pagbabayarin. So maybe we can provide some sort of ruling that all these operators require any sort of maintenance or annual, semi-annual, or depending on the weight and or the qualification para malimitahan po yung mga ganitong klaseng aksidente, no? Kasi hindi lang po ito basta-basta aksidente. Pag truck ang sumagasa sa'yo, buhay ang kapalit talaga eh.
ASEC.
Opo, we'll take note of that po. Thank you very much.
Okay, last question. Based on the budget of DOTr po, no, we have I think 987 million proposed budget under the maritime infrastructure. Tama po ba?
We confirm that, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman.
Out of the 987 million, ilan po dito naka-allocate for port projects?
Yusek Sarmiento.
Mr. Chair? Yes. Out of 987 million, ang naka-allocate po ay 228 million.
Sa 228 million, sir, that you are requested, meron po ba tayo mga ports na hindi po naisama sa request niyo po? Or kumbaga natanggal po?
Meron pong natanggal na 19 ports. Nag-submit kami ng 26 ports sa proposal. Ang na-approve lang sa NEP is 7.
May we possibly get a list of these ports and how much the total amount is? The reason why I'm asking this is, I mean, we are an archipelagic country, no? Talagasan po nating mode of transportation because it's mura is talaga po ay Roro. So baka po pwede nating through the help of this committee madagdagan yung inyo pong pondo, makita po natin itong mga ports na nasabi nyo po na hindi po nabigyan ng pondo, baka sakaling matulungan po, no, para din at sa ating mga kababayan. Because pag nagbukas po tayo ng mga ports, it does not become a passenger terminal or para for accessibility. It opens up that area for economic activity, no, para matulungan natin yung kanilang ekonomiya to tourism or economic activity.
I can only agree with you, Your Honor, and we will furnish you the list.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I think that will be all. I would just like to manifest and extend my full support for the budget of DOTr and my full support as well to DOTr Secretary Bautista for his untiring work as the Secretary of Transportation. That would be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. The next to interpellate will be Representative Bienvenido Abante. Vice Chair Bienvenido Abante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po sa ating DOTr family. Mr. Chair, ako lang yung magko-complain ng kaunti, ha? Pwede ba yun, Mr. Chair? Oh,
Pwede.
2004 pa ako dito eh. Ha? Okay. Pag budget hearing, maraming pangako eh. Katapos ng budget hearing, tapos na ang mga pangako. Pag budget hearing, madaling kausap ang family ng mga ahensya. Pagkatapos ng budget hearing, na-approve na ang kanilang budget, hindi na sumasagot sa mga tawag namin. Except yung mga kaibigan ko dito. Hindi ko nakakasabihin ang pangalan. Totoo lang, no ha? Hindi lang yan, kundi may mga request tayo. For example, masyado na pong delayed. Sana naman po, magkaroon po naman tayo rito ng konting aksyon. You know, we're not just playing words here in this budget hearing. We're not just asking for help. And we are not just looking for promises. Mr. Chair, we want action from these agencies. Why? Because number one, Congress has the power of the purse. We are the ones that are actually approving the budget. Number two, nandun po kami sa lupa. We are at the grounds. We are the elected representative of the people, Mr. Chair. Tama ho ba ako, Congressman Rufus? Oh, yeah. Oh, ay ibig sabihin, the real complaint is not on the agency, but on us. On us, Mr. Chair, because we are the ones elected by the people. Kami ang nasisisi at nako-complain. Ngayon, nakita ko po dito, mukhang kayo ay paborito ng DBM. Laki ng budget nyo. Oo. Your budget has increased to 102.25%. Am I right, Mr. Chair? Samantalang nagko-complain ang ibang agency na nabawasan po ang kanilang mga budget. But the DOTr, to my surprise, has the largest budget when we have attached agencies of the DOTr that are actually earning money, giving revenues to the government, like PPA, like CAP. Besides that, Mr. Chair, there's a lot of loans and grants that are being given to projects that we do not even know. Oh, I do not know if questions have been asked since this morning about the loans and the grants that have been given at the DOTr as far as the many projects are concerned. Mamaya, tatanungin ko rin yung PPA, ano ba relasyon ninyo sa mga reclamation areas na even our own president ay pinagbawal ang pagkatayo until it is fully reviewed. But Mr. Chair, my first question would be, sabi ko nga sa inyo, halos doble ang budget nito para sa 2023 na 106 billion. Pero, to be very frank, Mr. Chair, bakit tila po yata nakalimutan naman bigyan ng budget ang karaniwang tao na gumagamit ng kalsada? Active transportation at yung PUB modernization. Sa ilalim ng 2024 NEP, ang budget para sa active transport infrastructure tulad ng bike lanes at pedestrian walkways ay binawasan ng 500 million mula sa budget na 2 billion noong 2022. Oo, pinapahinto na ako. Binibilisan ko na nga eh. Oo. Kasama ba yung complaint sa question? Hindi ba?
Kasama na.
Oo. Oo.
Sige, you can please proceed to your question.
It only has 7 million in the budget. Ako po yung naghintay mula pa kayo ng umaga. Number 41 po ako magki-question. Since this morning at 9 o'clock. Okay. So, gusto ko lang pong itanong, kung meron pang panahon, I beg Mr. Chairman to please give me the opportunity. Oh, total maganda naman ang complaint ko.
Sige, you ask your question now.
Hindi, Mr. Chair.
tama lamang na tayong lahat dito hindi lamang mag-question, kundi mag-complain. Tama ho yun. That's the reason why there ought to be minutes to complain about the budget of any agency in this government. Oo. So, ang tanong ko ito, magkano po ang naka-allocate para sa active transportation infrastructure sa taong 2024?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Yusek De Leon.
Your Honor, the amount approved that is included in the 2024 NEP for active transport is 500 million out of our original proposal of 1.996 billion pesos.
Okay? So magkano po ang nakalaan sa tulong subsidy o ayuda ng gobyerno sa PUB Modernization Program para sa 2024?
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, no amount is included for the PUV modernization program under 2024 NEP, although we have originally proposed 1.8 billion pesos.
Magkano po naman nakalaan ng
Last question.
2024 para sa libreng sakay program sa Metro Manila?
Libreng sakay is what we know as service contracting, Your Honor. Out of the 10 billion that we have proposed for this program, not a single amount is included in the NEP, Your Honor.
Totoo ba sa zero budget ang nilaan ng DOTr para sa PUV? Zero budget po ba yun? Hindi.
For PUV MP, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, we proposed 1.8 billion, but it was not granted, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, sana lang pwede. Kung pwede po ba?
Last question.
Nakikiusap po ako sa inyo.
Last
Mamaya
question.
meron pa bukas, Mr. Chair?
May second round.
May second round?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Kung hindi lang sa mga kaibigan ko dito, papatipir ko muna yung budget ng DOTr eh. At any rate, Mr. Chair, ito na lang po, para sa railways transport program natin, DOTr allocated 107 billion in 2021, 112 billion in 2022, and 120 billion in 2023. At ngayon, 2024, ang proposed budget for railways ay 163.7 billion pesos out of the 214 billion proposed budget for the entire DOTr. Ibig sabihin, halos 76% ng budget ng DOTr ay mapupunta lamang sa railways transport program. Pakipaliwanag nga po ito.
Mr. Chair, nabanggit po ang 2020, 2021, 2022, at 2023. Noong 2020 po, 57% ang disbursement rate. Noong 2021, 55%. Noong 2022, umabot ng almost 100%. Ngayon po, 2023 as of July 31, ang ating disbursement rate ay nasa 56% na. Bakit ho maraki ang pondo sa RILES? At bakit lalong lumaki sa panahong ito? Sapagkat yung Manila to Malolos is an ongoing project. That's about 185 billion. Yung Malolos to Clark is an ongoing project. All contracts have been awarded already. Sa panahon ng Marcos administration, yung packages Manila, 01, 02, 03, 4, 5 hanggang 7 ho. Calamba, Manila to Calamba, about 56 kilometers and 19 stations, been awarded sa taong ito at nung nakaraang taon under the Marcos administration. Imagine ho, ng proyektong ito ay almost 190 billion. Ang minimum na contract award sa bawat kontrata is between 15 to 20 billion. Ito pong Manila to Calamba using PNR alignment, 49% is PNR alignment, other government agencies. So malaki ho ang pondo na hiningi para sa taong ito sapagkat maliban doon sa Manila to Clark, may bago ho tayong nilagdaang kontrata sa ilalim ng Marcos administration, and that's Manila to Calamba po. Maliban pa sa subway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Talagang magaling magpaliwanag si Yusek Chavez.
Thank you, Congressman Abante.
Talagang chairman gawin mo talaga yung paliwanag niya.
Mr. Chair. Pero hindi pala, hindi ko natatanungin ng PPA. Ang nais ko na lang, saan pa yung PPA natin?
Your time is up.
Opo, gusto hindi ko tatanong. Sabihin ko na lang, yung kanilang relasyon sa relocation program, reclamation program, sapagkat kasama Maynila ron eh. Apektado kami dun eh. So I just would like to find out, hindi na kinakailangan sagutin, bigyan na lang ako ng paliwanag dito to the committee.
Maybe you can answer the question in writing.
We will do so, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So the next to interpolate will be Representative Jojo Ang. Next will be Vice Chairman Ino D. Representative Sherny Tan Tambut. Representative Richelle Singson. Representative Eduardo Rama.
Good evening. I just would like to ask as to the update on our BRT project in Cebu, specifically on package 2 and package 4, which happens to be in my district, Mr. Chairman. May I know the timeline of package 2 and package 4?
Who's going to answer?
Mr. Chair, for Mr. Chair, package 1, 2, 3, 4. Package 1 is ongoing. Package 2 and 3 are already with the World Bank. The bidding documents are currently ongoing review for concurrence. Once we get the concurrence, Mr. Chair, on that P2, P3, it's combined, then we will publish already. We will start the bidding. For package 4, Mr. Chair, okay. For package 4, we need to go back to NEDA board and get NEDA board approval for a change in scope. Because, Mr. Chair, you might have heard that there was a change to the project in the last few years, which downgraded a certain segment from being a segregated segment to being mixed traffic. So we are reverting it back. So we are reverting it from mixed traffic. We're making it segregated again for P4, for package 4. But we need to get a NEDA board approval to implement that change.
So what you're saying right now for package 4, it will go back to the original plan of having a dedicated lane in that area from I think that's from Bulacau to Mambaling. Mambaling. Yes. One of the challenges that I see in package 4 and even in package 2 is our narrow roads in Cebu City. The original concept of the BRT was to widen our roads. When it was first presented to us, Cebuanos, way back in 2004, 2006, was to widen our roads and to have our own dedicated lane for the BRT. And the challenges that I see in package 4 is we have infrastructures there, like a flyover and a tunnel, a one-lane flyover and a one-lane tunnel in that area. So I'm just wondering aloud, how do we go about that problem, considering BRT is supposed to have a dedicated lane?
Mr. Chair, the original project configuration really assumed a dedicated lane for the Mambuklao to Mambaling. The Mambaling to Mambaling to Bulacau. The Mambaling to Bulacau segment. And it assumed, Mr. Chair, that there will be right-of-way acquisition that will be undertaken on both sides of the existing roadway. So yes, the current carriageway is limited, and in order to make way for that dedicated lane for the BRT, right-of-way acquisition would be needed on both sides.
So what you're saying, in order for this project to succeed, is kailangan talaga ng road right-of-way acquisition to widen the roads for package 2 and package 4.
That's correct po, Mr. Chair.
Because I remember, I think 2 or 3 years ago, na hindi kasama yun sa pag-implement ng BRT, and it's a concern for the Cebuanos, given the fact that of course we have really narrow roads in Cebu. So I think that's a welcome development if and when we should implement package 2 and package 4 na kasama sa budget yung widening of roads in that area. And can we at least have a timeline for that, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, we are submitting to NEDA board very soon, because if I may, our lender, the World Bank, has actually given us deadlines. The current deadline to get investment approval is by the end of September, and we are working towards meeting that deadline. So we are confident, Mr. Chair, that we should be able to get a NEDA board reapproval for this upgraded scope. So we call it the segregated scope for this segment at the latest by October of this year, Mr. Chair.
The scope of work that's funded by World Bank, kasama na yon yung road right-of-way acquisition, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the right-of-way acquisition is usually funded by GOP counterpart, and it will match the requirement, Mr. Chair.
Because that's quite a long stretch, Mr. Chairman, from the whole Bacalso stretch to Bulacau. That's
Mr. Chair, for N. Bacalso, it's already the right-of-way acquisition at N. Bacalso is already included in the current scope of the approval. What is not included in what we will be submitting for NEDA board reapproval is the additional right-of-way for the Bulacau to Mambaling segment. So that's the only additional right-of-way. For N. Bacalso, it's already included at this time.
Going back to my previous question, paano natin yung challenges of having a one lane flyover and a one lane tunnel? How do we address that challenge? I mean, how do we implement the dedicated lane for the BRT na may ganon na ganon na infrastructure ngayon?
Mr. Chair, for package 4 in particular, the dedicated lane for Bulacau to Mambaling, once we get NEDA board approval, the next step would be for our detailed engineering design consultant, who's currently already mobilized, to come up with a design that will make it work. So there are different options. BRTs have been implemented elsewhere. And for example, in this case, the single lane flyover can either be expanded, or that single lane flyover can continue to be used by private cars, and the dedicated lane will be located at grade with right-of-way expansion, or vice versa. So there are different configurations that can be come up with. That's something that will be developed by our detailed engineering design consultant, Korean firm, Kunwa, after we get NEDA board reapproval for the upgraded segregated segment for Bulacau to Mambaling.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Boosted. I'll turn over the chair to Vice Chairman Ted Haresco.
Naku, ang dami nito. And the next on the next is Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, my idol.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the officialdom of the Department of Transportation and its attached agencies. I would have asked Secretary Bautista here, but he has gone with the President to Indonesia. My question is about policy. Is it the policy of the DOTr to remove regional directors who did an outstanding work in Region 10? Just remove them without any consultation from congressmen like me. May I ask, I'm referring to the transfer of one of the outstanding regional directors of the country, Director Al Guro. Are you here, Al, of the LTFRB? Now I have to answer this. Without any consultation, a very good, outstanding regional director who has a 95% performance on POJ modernization, who had always, with Congressman Rodriguez, been able to meet with the stakeholders, the POJ owners and drivers and bus operators of Cagayan de Oro. May I know? Who can answer this?
Agency concerned.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized?
Yes, the illustrious son of the illustrious Charles of Makati, where I appeared in my early 30s. Pupil of Guadis. Yeah, please answer because you also received my letter.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yes,
Chair. Mr. Chair, we share your sentiments. The distinguished regional director is one of the good and directors of LTFRB. However, the policy of choosing, since these are political appointees, are with the office of the president, sir. And
so you are replacing career officials for new political appointees. That's what you stated. And we're not going to agree with that. I'm not going to defend your budget here. You know, you come here for your budget needs and then you disregard congressmen. So, Director Guadis.
Mr. Chair.
I will also now state, Mr. Chairman. I wrote to Secretary Bautista to the retention of Al Guro, March 30, 5 months. Republic Act 6713, it's very clear, Section 5A. What does it say? All of you public officials, including you, Director Guadis, because you received a copy of this letter, never answered. You're liable for penalties administrative in the Ombudsman. Because the law requires that Secretary Bautista and you will answer my letter within 15 working days. We will know the answer. My goodness, this is a violation of the Code of Conduct and ethical practices of public officials.
May I answer?
Yes,
Mr. Chair, I forwarded your letter to the appropriate authority who has the power to endorse regional directors, which is the Secretary of the Department. I took the initiative of endorsing the recommendation of the good congressman to the secretary, but my power is only up to recommending, Your Honor. I have no power either to appoint this.
That is not the point, Mr. Chairman. A letter was addressed to you. You answer that you endorse it. So Secretary Bautista is charged with violation of 6713, Section 5, for failing to answer within 15 working days my letter. So let me proceed now. You're going to transfer Al Guro. I will be in the plenary till kingdom come to question the budget of the DOTr. Now let me go to another one because they have to retain him. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, we are congressmen. We are never even consulted. And they come here to ask for their budget. Let me go to another matter. Be sure, Director Guardias, that Al Guru is retained. Now, next one. Letter to Secretary Bautista. Already more than 15 days, about 20 days already. Requesting for the retention in Region 10 of the Honorable Outstanding Regional Director, Nelson Manaloto. I would like to ask, because Secretary is not here, our very own, our colleague is back with us, Victor Mendoza, because you received a letter also about the retention of the Mendoza. I'm sorry, of Nelson Manaloto. He will be replaced. Don't you know that it was Nelson Manaloto who built an LTO office in my district when it used to be only in the other district? But we have training for our drivers for free without paying driving schools, that they can get special permits to drive. And they come from far-flung barangays because they cannot afford to pay for 3,000 to 5,000 in public schools. So I'd like to know that, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask our former colleague, Congressman Vigor Mendoza, what has happened to my letter, and you have not also answered me?
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman, yes,
please, may I remind the OTR to address the chair?
yes. Sir. If I may be recognized, Chair.
Yes, Asek.
Yes. My apologies, Chair. I have yet to see the letter of the Honorable Congressman. But
Submitted to you. There's a problem with your people.
yes,
A letter that is sent August 16, Jaime Batista, to endorse Director Nelson Manaloto. Are you going to replace him, Director?
I don't think he will be replaced, Mr. Chairman.
That is the right answer. So therefore, I have now, you're not going to transfer him, okay?
There's no plans, Mr. Chairman.
Stick to that, no plans,
Yes.
so that you will have a very good support on that, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Chairman, my point is that the proper time I will defer the budget. Why? Because my third point is the Lagindingan Airport. Congressman Imani was crying there already. 10 years, in 2019, I was able to put for the Lagindingan Airport, now we have here our heads, Lagindingan Airport, 516 million, because including me, we sit now on the floor. My constituents from Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental, Lanao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, Bukidnon, have suffered on this, and in the last budget hearing, I brought that out. Now, the same answer. No budget for the Lagindingan International Airport. This is the gateway to Northern Mindanao. So we know now what is the current report, because I understand there's a huddle, there was a call to the Aboitiz. We cannot wait for the Aboitiz. Tagal na yan eh. 5 years na yan. We cannot wait for this public-private partnership. After all, if you put a building there, then it will be part of the payment of this private enterprise. So maybe know now, what is now the present situation? That is a problem because our constituents are there in about more than 16 flights, including me. I go home every Thursday. I come back every Saturday night. Every week. And why? Because after our session here, and we go back to our respective districts, a congressman that will not return is not a working congressman. Manila lang siya palagi. Eh, hindi ganun si Rufus Rodriguez eh. 13 years na ako dito. I leave on a Thursday. Because of the budget hearing, I leave on Thursday evening, not in the morning. So we don't know the status of the Lagindingan. Mr. Chairman, we have to really be able to have this because this is a need. 10 years na ito.
Thank you, Congressman Rufus. That was your last question. Thank you. Answer?
To be the answer. Because this is a very, very emotional issue for us.
Yes, through the chair.
Yes, Yusek Clip.
Yes. Congressman Rufus, with respect to activities short of the PPP, which is now underway, CAAP is undertaking some initiatives to provide more space within the airport. Number two, it is also the declustering the
What are you going to do? What are the things to be done?
Okay,
Immediately.
number one, there is already a plan to create additional pre-departure areas within the airport complex. The design.
It's already full. How can you do that? Have you been to airport, Mr. Lim?
Yes.
Yes, what do you see there?
So,
There's no expansion except a building.
no, precisely, Congressman. We are creating this new temporary area within the airport. There is in fact a design that we can show you. DG Ski Tamayo, could we show the design? It is an interim design.
Can you have that, Mr. Chairman?
Lim, can you give the design to Congressman?
We will do it right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, by voting as Exhibit A for Congressman Rodriguez against the budget of DOTr, Exhibit A letter from Governor Peter Onabia requesting us, congressmen of Region 10, to personally attend the upcoming budget deliberation of the transportation. Here is the letter. I have received it on all congressmen. It asks that we be present because there is really the important need of having an expansion of the airport. You see, sir, I am deeply committed to the success of development of Region 10, but I firmly believe that the success is instrumental in achieving a new building for our airport. Can we have our committee chair, Secretary Martis, Exhibit A, against the budget of the DOTr, which has not given the budget for our Lagindingan Airport, and the removal of our outstanding regional directors. Exhibit A, can you mark this, Mr. Chairman? Can you order?
Yes, Congressman Rufus, thank you.
Thank you. So we go to the second note. And then I'll send and I manifest. Second note, there are many questions pa to all of these people here.
Yes, Yusek, just give to Congressman Rufus now the design.
We're doing it right now through the Director General of CAP, and this is budgeted under the COB of CAAP.
The next,
Mr. Chair, could you,
yes.
Yusek Lim, could you kindly reiterate what you had just said earlier, that this is a go under the PPP? It's an unsolicited project, and therefore there is zero government counterpart, and it's a go.
Yes, Your Honor.
So can you just please
There are two comes to my answer, Your Honor. The PPP is the unsolicited proposal for the PPP is a go. In fact, the first day of the negotiation is tomorrow. That's one. We expect the award to be done by the first quarter of next year. But as an interim, precisely, Congressman, as an interim solution, CAAP is